Hey everybody, welcome to our monthly episode. I'm here with Christy Legal. Christy, how are you doing?
I am doing very good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So we have a good episode today. One of the things that I've been doing is going on social media to really see what the trends are in marriage and children and relationships, all that stuff. And I actually stumbled upon a really good article from Forbes, and it is called Why Men Let me read you. Why men are less likely to initiate divorce than women. And I saw this. I'm like, I got to send this to Christy. It is actually written by a psychologist called Mark Travers. And I am going to link this article in the description box, but it has four main points. And Christy and I are going to talk about it today. And Christy, like, does this surprise you at all about having an article like this on why men are less likely to initiate divorce than women?
Um, no. Um, you know, Interestingly, slightly more than half the people who contact me, it's the man who contacts first, but it's usually because the woman has asked for a divorce.
Oh,
Um, like more than 2/3 of the time, I would say.
okay.
But the men are looking for a more affordable way to divorce.
I was gonna say, do you think that is why? Because they're looking for a more affordable way to divorce
I'm pretty
versus going
sure.
to an attorney.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And then it's also slightly possible that they're like, "Well, she's a woman, so, my wife will be fine because she's a woman."
Mm, what do you mean by that?
So some people think that because I'm a woman, I will be biased towards women. And that's absolutely not true. Because as a paralegal and mediator, I work for both people, and so I have to be unbiased.
Mhm.
And but some men, I've heard them say that when they're in a litigative divorce case, they have contacted me because I think I'm a lawyer and they want a woman lawyer because I think a woman lawyer is somehow going to get them an advantage in court.
Mm, okay. Okay. I'm processing that.
Right? I
And
think
yeah, I
their
can see
thought
that
is,
though. I can see that. I can totally see that.
yeah, I think they think that, like, ooh, if I'm being represented by a woman, it's like, look, the woman likes me, and
Mhm. Yeah.
the woman's getting paid to like you.
Right. Right.
Right?
It's a professional, it's a job, and we can
Yeah.
keep it separate.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, and so, the article talks, again, gives 4 main points, and so this is, again, from a psychologist, and it's from Forbes, so it's a reliable source, and so, number 1, Christy, is said that men are less likely to initiate divorce because number one, they feel tied to their children. And so you're a mediator. Like, do you see this? Do you notice this?
Yeah, I would say that most most dads do want to be dads. I mean, yes, there are a lot of deadbeat dads. But most dads do want to be dads, and they do want to be actively involved in their children's lives. Um and they know that if they get divorced, that they are going to see their kids at most half the time. And family courts do favor moms. So,
Mhm.
there's a fairly good chance that they will only see their kids 25% or maybe one third of the time.
Mhm.
And so they're like, oh, seeing my kids like one third of the time or being married.
Mhm.
And, the ones who stay married, it's because they just really want to be with their kids every day. And I personally know several men who did exactly that. They stayed in very unhappy marriages because they wanted to see their child or children every day. They wanted to, make sure to be able to develop their children as, their children's every part of their children's life, and know that and have their children know that they love them.
Mhm.
Um, and really the only thing that you can't get more of in life is time. You can get more money, you can level up your business or work extra hours if you work for an employer. Um, you can get more crap around your house. But you can't get more time. And so that is the thing, that they want with their kids is more time. And they know they're going to have a lot less time if they get divorced. And I mean, you know, traditionally, you know, fathers are supposed to be responsible for their kids.
Mhm.
And so, like, if we're just, not with our kids half the time, then how can we be responsible for them?
Right, right. And I know professionally that I work with men who have stayed in marriages longer than they would have preferred because of their children.
Yeah.
They wanna see their children grow up. They wanna be in their children's lives. I think contrary to what we believe that, yes, there are a lot of deadbeat dads out there, there are also a lot of good fathers out there too.
Yeah. And you know this more than I do and can probably give more specifics, but I've seen a lot of studies that show that when dads are actively involved in children's lives, that they have better mental health, they do better in school, and and they're not as impoverished.
Very true, and, that's why, I know we're in 2025. A lot of families benefit from two-parent households. I am not going to lie. Now, if there's abuse going on or if there's anything else, I would definitely say divorce is the best thing. Or
Yes.
if there's arguing where the children are not thriving, then divorce is the best pie option. But having a two-parent household with resources, the children need that. Children need the resources. Children need healthy parents. Healthy parents is a key word, and when they have healthy parents, they are able to thrive more, and especially if, dad is a provider, that helps a lot more too.
Yeah. And you can have two lovely healthy parents in two separate households too. Um
Definitely.
because mom and dad might be better people not living together.
Totally true too.
And having to
Totally
make
true
all
too.
the decisions, together. It's just, kids are better off when dad is very involved in their children's lives.
I would say I think it's really important when there are young sons, and I've seen this too in professional and personally. When a young son has their father around, they definitely have a higher self-esteem. They are healthier emotionally, mentally. Again, if the father is healthy. I should
Right.
preface that if the father is healthy. If the father is not healthy, then it's better off that, what is the best environment for this child? But if the father is mentally, emotionally, financially, all holistically healthy, children, and I think especially young sons thrive more.
Absolutely. So my late husband passed in 2009, and my kids were 6 and 11, and my son, who was 11 and then, a couple of years after my late husband passed, he was like, "Could you sit down for a minute? I need to tell you something." And he said, "I just can't listen to you as well as I, can listen to dad." And I was just like, "Well, I guess you're gonna get grounded a lot and get a lot of stuff taken away from you." And I'm not sure what he wanted me to say really, but
Yeah.
yeah, like boys do need men. And I was also a corrections officer.
Mhm.
Um, and the my fellow corrections officers were just like, Christy, it's really nice that, you want to be a, corrections officer with boys, but really boys need men to help them
Mhm.
become good people.
Yeah. Like, how did you feel when your son said that to you?
I felt bad for my son because he doesn't have a dad. Um, I felt a little helpless because I was like, wow, this is gonna be very challenging to raise this boy.
And he was 13, you said, at the
He's
time?
13.
Okay, and that is, I think that's so significant to ask how old he was,
Oh,
because
yeah.
13-year-old, you're going through so much, like, physically, emotionally, mentally, life-wise, as a 13-year-old boy.
Yep, and also not having a dad and never gonna be like, oh, maybe when I'm 20, but no.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So that is point number 1. Number 2 here, let me look here. They fear the loss of stability. So it said here that for many men, divorce brings not just emotional upheaval, but also profound uncertainty about the future. And it said financial instability, loneliness, and the disruption of familiar routines, and which fuels the fear of the unknown.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know any women like this, but I know a few women, especially women who are like age 60 plus, where when they are not home to make their husband's dinner, like the husband is just like
Helpless
get
baby.
McDonald's or something, or
Right.
or putting a
Yeah.
pizza in the oven, or and they're just like, oh my gosh, I can't survive without my wife. And
Yep. I've seen a lot of that professionally, personally also.
yeah, and so it's like, you know, yeah, if you are, one of the men who like just doesn't know how to do life,
Mhm.
then this will really be a big thing for you, because wow, you're gonna have to learn how to wash clothes and make food and like clean and like remember your own like errands and stuff. And
Medical appointments.
yeah, and and when you
Pay
have to
your own
voice
bills.
kids, like, you're gonna have to get them to the play dates or just all the stuff. Like, you're gonna actually be responsible for yourself.
Yeah,
You're
yeah. Yeah, and so, there's studies that said the happiest group of people are single child-free women and married men. And the unhappiest are married women and single men.
Yeah, that's been so I learned that statistic back in a sociology class in about like 1992.
Oh my gosh. So even back in the 90s.
Well, those would be statistics from the 80s.
Oh, wow. And then, like, recently, there's been more about that, and it's talked about, and so, yeah, when you are a married man who has a wife, your quality of life is top tier, and I notice this, but, in reading leadership books, that's why I'm like, I can't relate to these men because they all have wives at home, taking care of everything that they can do, whatever it is that they're doing, because they don't have to worry about who's cleaning the house, who's doing this, who's doing that, because everything's taken care for them.
Yeah,
And so when you have that quality of life, you don't want to lose it.
right. That's a lot of people to pay to do things for you.
Right, when you have a wife who does all of that. And again, this is heterosexual marriages that we are talking about here.
Although it could apply to other types of marriages or
Yes.
relationships too.
Yes. Definitely, definitely. And so, kind of going more to the article here, what else are they saying? That, um, let's see here, isolation. You you and I kind of talked about this, about how a lot of men put their whole lifeline onto their spouse. Their spouse is everything for them. And, we talked about like how some spouses, wives, feel like they have to encourage their husbands to go out there and hang out with friends and even have like setting up play dates, like kind of like AKA's play dates. Like you should go hang out with, like if I were married and my, husband was not out there, God forbid. And I would be like, go hang out with like Christy's husband. Why don't you text him and, go do something, watch football, and it's like they need that urging from their wife to like go out and have a social life. And I want to say not all men are like that. I know not all men are like that. And for the men or the husbands who put their whole lifeline on their wives, that's how it feels like.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, both of my major relationships in my life were not like that. They, when I met them, they had friends. They had a lot of friends. I did want to be like the most important person in their life, but yeah, not for them to get everything from me. Because I mean, there are things that as a woman I can't give them. And they have interests that I don't have. Like, my fiance really likes watching sports, and yeah, and I'm just not into that. I play sports. I
Mhm.
don't watch them. Or at least I used to. I'm
Yeah.
I'm a little old now.
You're never too old, Christy. But I get it. Sometimes your body just doesn't recover the way that you want it to do, or even starts the way you want it to start. So yeah, I get that.
I would still challenge anybody to basketball though.
Oh, okay. Anybody who wants to challenge Christy, here is your chance.
Yep, I'm 5 feet tall, so I will pick the ball off of you very easily.
Oh, okay. I know for sure Christy will kick my butt at basketball. It's been a long time since I touched a basketball. So, I don't want to sound like, oh, I don't want to break a nail, but I don't want to break a nail. It's part of my brand, having nails doing this job, and so I have to have, well, I have to have nice nails, so, but if anybody wants to challenge Christy, she is open to it. So my money's on you, Christy.
I hope so. But yeah, so like the men who don't have friends are going to be the men who also don't have like great social skills.
Talk more about that, Christy, like social
Well, I
skills.
think you probably know more than I do, but like um you have to have good social skills to be in a relationship that's
You
successful.
do.
And so honestly, when I was looking for someone to partner myself with, I wanted to make sure that the person had friends. I mean, the person didn't have to have 50 friends, but at least like a good handful that, he really likes being around, and when they talk on a regular basis and all that, and they've known each other a while. And yeah, because otherwise I'm like, wait a minute. If he can't have a relationship with friends, how is he going to be able to have a relationship with me?
Hmm. What I actually see is, so I mentioned this to you earlier. I work with a lot of the women whose partners relied on them for everything, like especially the emotional part, because they had a lot of trauma and they have other things going on, and so their partner, my clients, would be their lifeline. And so when my clients wanted to go do something or go out with the girls for a week or something, their partners would kind of guilt trip them and be like, oh, so you're going to leave me alone? How come you don't ever want to do stuff with me, but you want to go do stuff with your friends? And so they feel bad. My clients feel bad that they're leaving their partners to go have fun with their friends. And then if my clients lack boundaries, they'll be like, okay, I can't go, which will kind of, halt the dynamic of going with friends. And it's like, okay, let's work on your boundaries and saying, I can't be your lifeline. How do you go find your own life? How do you not being so clinging to me, you know? Like how can you not suffocate me so that we can have our own lives? And I know that sounds an exaggeration, but I trust me, this is not exaggeration. As a therapist, I work with people like that who are like, let's work on your boundaries. Let's work on having boundaries with your partner too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody needs boundaries with everybody.
And especially with your partner. And that means that you don't have to be their everything. Like you can be there for them, but you don't have to be, I say that's their lifeline.
And this actually leads into the third thing that Forbes talks about, which
Yeah.
is that men are less likely to leave because they are conditioned to suppress their emotions. So it's like, you know, and, wait a minute, the wife might be the only person who they're emotional with. Am I going to leave that lifeline where, like, that is the only person in the whole world who I can be emotional with?
Mhm.
And let me just say, it is so toxic how um, large segments of our society tells men that they should not be emotional. It's toxic, and actually it leads to very bad things like spousal and child abuse. Because when
Mhm.
we teach men that, you know, the emotions that they're supposed to have, or the main emotion they're supposed to have is like anger,
Mhm.
what do you think's going to happen? Like, oh no, men aren't sad.
Mhm.
So then what happens is when they are sad, it comes out as anger and they start hurting people.
Anger and aggression, and I we see this a lot, road rage, and I see this is a tough topic to say, but especially when they start having thoughts of self-harming themselves.
Hmm.
When they're told to suppress their emotions because that is seen as weak, especially in societies like here in the US where men are not encouraged to show emotion besides anger and aggression.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you have no coping mechanisms, because you're not supposed to need coping mechanisms
Mhm.
now magically because you're not human.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
turn
yeah.
to other coping which are not healthy, like
Oh, yeah.
substance abuse.
Oh, yeah. So, I don't know the backstory on my stepdad, but he was very abusive, physically and emotionally. And but I do know that when he was a kid,
Mhm.
that he was sent away to military school, and he didn't like that, and he felt unloved
Really?
by his parents,
Okay.
and so he started drinking in, I believe, middle school.
Oh my gosh, that's so young. But, you know, that's like 11, 12, 13 years old right there.
Yep, because he was so sad about being tossed, to a military academy as a young teenager, and so he started drinking, and he drank till the day he died. I can only assume. Yep.
That's unfortunate, and yet this is we shouldn't be surprised when we tell men that they're weak for showing emotion and that you need to suppress it. Don't cry. Boys don't cry.
Yeah, historically, whenever anything negative is happening in the world, or a community on a wide scale,
Mhm.
what happens? Domestic abuse skyrockets. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it skyrocketed. During like every, big negative thing that's happened in human history, women get it.
And we see this right now with our current administration. And this is why a lot of women are choosing not to date. It's dangerous right now when you deal with people who are not emotionally regulated or don't know how to emotionally regulate their emotions. And it's scary.
Yeah.
So if there are any men watching this, it's okay to show your emotions.
You're likely to get a date.
Yes. You're likely to get a date if you show your emotions. Yes. Healthy masculinity.
Yes, and there is nothing not masculine about showing emotions either.
Yeah, women love that. Women love that. So, yeah, women love that. And yep, you're likely to get a date. So, um,
That might
yeah.
be tomorrow.
I was just reading this article today, and I don't know if you know who he is, but everybody, like men and women, both love Pedro Pascal. And
Oh,
he was from Game of Thrones, but he's a wonderful actor, and everybody loves him because he is what healthy masculinity is. And so, if anybody is watching this and you know Pedro Pascal, you all know what I'm talking about here. It's like, oh, Pedro, oh, so yeah, he is. I think the epitome of what healthy being a healthy man is, who's willing to show his emotions, be happy, hug other men. It's okay to hug other people.
yeah, I have several guy friends who are like that, so shout out to them too.
Yay! Shout out to people, men who are actually okay with hugging other men.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they do. And then the number four reason that men are likely to are not as likely to divorce, um, they lack an emotional support system. Like that honestly just goes hand in hand
With everything.
with being told to suppress their emotions because like wait a minute, we have no emotions. So why do we need an emotional support system, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And let me see what the article says here. So, oh, bear with me for a second. So they lack support systems. And so it says while men tend to report having more same sex friendships than women, these relationships are often not very close, intimate, or emotionally open. Researchers suggest that several factors prevent emotional closeness between men. And again, it talked about the societal expectations tied to traditional male roles, such as the pressure to compete, a fear of being perceived as weak, discomfort with vulnerability, and homophobia, as well as a lack of positive role models for male emotional connection. And as a result, they often do not find the tools or safe places to open up. I am not surprised about any of this. And I think, especially in America, there's this fear of calling someone homophobic because they show emotions. Again, the lack of hugging, the lack of even saying, like, I support you or I love you. It's like, oh God, are you homophobic? Then use a slur. And it's because of that it's like, okay, what if I really do need someone? I really do need someone to talk to. And again, I hate to say this, but this is why, I more of my clients that I worked with were men who had thoughts of harming themselves when they came to therapy. And by the time they come to therapy, it's like a call for 911.
Wow.
Hmm. Because they don't feel that they can be vulnerable with anybody. And if they express their vulnerability, it's like, what's wrong with you? It's just, so there's a lot of shame in showing
Yeah.
vulnerability and showing emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know several men who have told me that if they act emotional, that their guy friends would be like, "Man up," you know? And then I've listened to men talk to each other and it's like they're talking about something they did or something they're gonna do, or like some, sports game, or some sports person did, and like not sports related, but like something they did on in their regular life or politics, or it's just like, yeah, it's rarely about themselves. And like, oh, how are the kids, and
Mhm.
how are you doing with that struggle you've been having at your job,
Yeah.
or how's your wife or partner, um or, oh, you told me that you're struggling with feeling sad about this thing or that thing, how are you feeling today? Like, I've never heard that
I
ever.
was like, I don't think I've ever heard another man ask another man, "Hey, how are you doing?" They
Yeah,
say, "How's it going?" But they don't ever ask, "How are you doing?" And then sometimes when somebody does ask that, they start talking out loud and they realize, "You know what? I'm actually not doing that well." They
yeah,
deny it for so long, and then I think you finally what is it? It's like it breaks open. It's like, "You know what? I'm actually not doing well."
yeah. And I've had several men say that, um, like, if they're sad, they would much rather talk to a woman anyways, because women are more caring.
As a therapist, I've had male clients specifically ask for a female therapist versus a male therapist because of that exact reason.
Even though you guys have the same credentials, right?
Yeah, we have the same credentials. We understand human behavior, emotion. And this is why when I say I work with men, it's because they asked to work with a female therapist or that was their preference and they specifically chose me to work with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And like when the article said about lack of positive real male role models for,
Mhm.
creating these emotional support systems for men. Wow. Like, yes, because I mean, how can I mean, it's much harder. It could be done, but it's much
Mhm.
harder when you didn't see your dad like talking to his friends about, or his male relatives about really important stuff.
Right.
So like these poor guys are like inventing the wheel,
Mhm.
whereas women, we've been social creatures and emotional support creatures, for each other and men
Mhm.
throughout history. So
Mhm.
these poor men are trying to create the wheel.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like culture-wise too, our own fathers in my culture, they don't show emotion. And so, to expect their sons to show emotion and then they become fathers and now they're children and we're trying to tell our children it's okay to show emotion. But if it's like, well, that doesn't show that. It's like, good point. That is a great point. You don't see dad or grandpa show emotion, so why would you? And it's like it's okay though. It's okay, reassuring, but they don't see or they don't yeah, they don't have the model. They don't have the role model to say it's okay.
Yeah, they really just have to, using the phrase that you've used many times, break the generational trauma.
I do say that,
Because
don't I? Break the generational curses, break the generational trauma, and really, it's up to us to break it.
yeah, and I mean, like it's a curse for men to
Yeah.
not have emotions and not talk about their emotions. It's a curse. Like when you can't talk about stuff, that's when you end up getting sicknesses.
Mhm. Yeah, and patriarchy hurts both men and women. We see that it hurts men in ways of not being able to express their emotions, being healthy emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, all of that stuff. And it's like, this is what a man is supposed to be. This is one definition in a man, and this is what you all should aspire to be. It's like, no, that's not just one definition of a man. So,
Right.
yeah,
And if
yeah.
that's the type of man you're looking for, then there are lots of them.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah, I know that you are limited in time today. What final words do you have on this topic?
Well, so I wanted to point out that June is Men's Health Month.
Okay, June.
And so, that's something to keep in mind. And then also, Men's Mental Health Day is June 13th. And,
Okay.
so maybe that is when we should do our next episode.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
totally.
like maybe, I didn't even see if that's a weekday or not. I
I
don't
mean,
even know what day of the week
we could
it is.
definitely do it, and then I can post it on that day.
There we
And
go. Yeah, if need be,
yeah,
that's what we'll do. And maybe I could get my fiance to come
sure. Yeah, that would be wonderful. Yeah. Um, like if anybody has any ideas or comments about what you all would like for Christy and I to talk about, put it in the comment section. We would love to hear your ideas, your feedback, and what do you feel that would be helpful, because our intention is to really help people understand and to like I said, break those generation curses, break those generational traumas about all of this, and to really get to know yourself, to know who you are, choosing to marry, have children with, and especially, I think through all of our episodes, it's be honest with yourself and what you want, not what you hope that other people will want or hope that other people will change their mind.
Yeah. Listen to people when they tell you who they are.
Yes. Listen to people when they show you who they are too.
Yeah, that even more.
Yeah. Now listen, trust. Like when people show you who they are, believe them, especially on the first date. Okay. If they're late, they don't put in effort. If they start gaslighting you, believe all of that. Okay. If they
Ooh.
don't put in effort into being their best, they're showing you who they are. And I know everybody thinks that they can change someone, but please don't.
Hey, maybe we should do for the May episode telling terrible first dates
Yes.
and what that told us about the men.
I have quite a few. So
Girl, I'm 52.
I'm 41, so
I have so
we
many.
both had lots. So stay
Yeah,
tuned for our May episode because it'll be a fun one. And if you have ideas too, give us ideas. Christy and I would love to, again, have your ideas, your feedback, and we can definitely create episodes off of them.
absolutely.
Okay. Any final words, Christy, before I let you go?
Mm, no, just encourage all the men in your life to express their emotions. Ask them how they are feeling. And if they don't know how they're feeling, then ask them more questions to get out of them how they're feeling. Ask them like, "Oh, how's that project at work going?"
Hmm.
Or, "Oh, like, what did you think about this? Or what did you think about that?" Or, like
Yeah,
ask them questions and they just might open up.
right. And it doesn't just have to be your husband or boyfriend. It could be your brother. It can be your father. It could be your uncle. It could be your colleague. It could be your nephews like mine.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, their parents maybe didn't help them
Mhm.
grow emotionally, but
Mhm.
maybe you can help just a little.
Right, right. And so just ask, how are you feeling? Mhm. Wonderful episode today, and I enjoyed it, and I am going to again link the article in the description box here too. So for anybody who wants to review it, it is there also. But otherwise, Christy and I will be back in May. And as always, Christy, it's always fun to have these episodes with you.
It sure is.
All right, everybody, take care. And if you're new to my channel, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you have anything to say, put it in the comment section. So, otherwise, we will see you next month. Take care.